Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Justice and Pieces guest speaker series. Today, we are joined by Jolanta. So, Jolanta, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us. And perhaps maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, JP. Thank you so much for having me here. A little bit about myself. Let me say that I've been working in the legal field for over 7 years, and I have recently become a paralegal. So I passed my license about it was like last year. So passed my exam, got my license, and opened my own business as a paralegal, and that's where my journey started.
So let's go back, I guess, a couple of years ago. First of all, you said you were in the legal industry for 7 years. So what made you decide to go from your job working in the legal field to then enrolling at Trials College and wanting to become a paralegal?
So yes, so actually my journey really started about 12 years ago. So I decided back then in 12 years ago to actually work in a legal field. It was due to my own experiences with the legal system, and that was like the starting point. It took me a while to actually make a decision because I was also working in a different field. I work in hospitality. I was managing restaurants and hotels and whatnot. However, I felt like I should be somewhere else. That's and I felt like the law is the right path for me and the right career. So about 7 years ago, I decided to apply. Actually, I decided to go to school first. So I took the immigration program that was the closest to law and became immigration assistant. After that, I worked a little bit, about a year in the field with immigration lawyers as an assistant. Then I decided to actually uh, go to trials. That's when I first actually went to trials and did my law clerk specialist program with trials. I was extremely happy that I had this opportunity and I was able to actually get a fantastic education in every area of law. This way, I knew what I really want to do in the future. My goal was to support first lawyers to learn even more, and then with time, redirect myself, maybe go with one direction, do something on my own. At the time, I had no idea I will become actually a paralegal. And I started working for the law firms, and I had lots of encounters with different professionals. I worked for five lawyers at a time at one firm. Then I had some experience working also with paralegals, and I worked in family law, in real estate law, wills and estates, civil litigation, small claims, LTB, and at some point I realized that actually I know so much. I can start to think about going on my own or planning at least my new career. And the paralegal program was actually the program that I considered. And I didn't hesitate to choose Trias College. Like that was my first thought. I would never go with a different college since I had such a great experience with all the instructors I had in my local program, as well as campus director and wonderful staff, right? So there was no chance I would choose something else. Trials College was number one of the list of my choice. And before I decided to actually join paralegal program, um, actually, when I decided to join the paralegal program wasn't run at that time. So I decided to work more, to gain more experience. And then one day I got this call and I was told, yeah, we have the program open. It's September. What do you think? How are you feeling about it? Actually, yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm gonna quit tomorrow. I'm starting. So so that's how I ended up like in trials and taking paralegal program.
Now, in terms of, both the law clerk specialist and the paralegal program, how would you say Trice has put you on a path to achieve your different career goals?
Only did put me on the path because I think thanks to those programs, like the availability and the variety of the programs and the knowledge, everything I got throughout those years from trials, it helped me to understand the law. It's the first place. That's where you start. You read, you educate yourself, then you practice whatever you read, and then you're there where you are, right? Like you going from there. And I think trials and all this. People that supported me throughout this education. So all the staff and directors of the campuses, that's where the motivation that I got from trials. I think, at some point when you go to school and you have to learn so much about law and you still you feel like you have some experience, but you are still newbie to it. You feel like this is too much. It's so overwhelming, right? However, having this staff, having all these instructors in place and the support, that's, this helps you move forward and actually more and more believe in yourself that you will be successful.
Now, what advice would you have for someone that is considering enrolling and wanting to become a paralegal?
Enrolling to want to become a paralegal, the advice I would have for those, choose this program if you are passionate about the law, about the legal field, and passionate about helping people, and and you really want to do this. If you are not sure which way you really want to go, don't make these decisions. You got to be sure about who you are and what you would like to achieve along the way. That's this advice I would give to others because I took this program with many students, right? With other colleagues and whatnot. And if you have no passion, if you have no interest, and you have no idea what you're gonna do and who you are and who you want to be in the future, this is a waste of time, right? So that's my advice. You have to know that you really want to work in this field. This is very tough work. It's hard, but if you have passion for it, it becomes it's not a hardship anymore. It's not a work. It is you just enjoy what you're doing.
Now, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what the actual program was like. I mean, there's some of the students who may be listening and may want some words of wisdom from you. And I know at the end, usually I'll ask for them, but maybe anyone that's in the program, what could you tell them about your experience there in terms of doing better as a student? As you said, you got to want to be there. So, what would help them thrive and succeed based on the time and the experience that you had?
Okay, so I think reading. You get the books, you read. You always get ready for what's coming the next day. Don't ever hesitate. Don't put things off for the later date. Always be on time with all your work, right? Um, this will help you to succeed. You will learn like a pattern. You will jump into a certain area where you actually diligent. You actually discover so many skills of yours when you will actually do everything as it's supposed to be. And I so many students that I will they keep their work till the last day, right? Like the assignment is due on the 30, they submit the assignment on the 30th day. That Don't be this person if you would like to succeed. I was always the first to submit all my assignments. I was always ahead reading, always ahead to speak up about what I read, always ask questions because that's what it is for. If you don't know something, at least you will get a guidance where to find your answers. Don't be afraid to ask, right? More you ask, more you know, but also try on your own and never do anything last minute.
Now, Jolanta, I mean, after the program, I mean, the next step, well, is the internship. So I know you talked about, the experience you got there, um, being very helpful. So what was that like? I mean, either from the law clerk side or from the paralegal side, and how did that kind of better prepare you for, the next steps, which was then to start your own practice and build on that. And as well, I mean, you had the experience before with the different opportunities you had when you first got into the legal field. So, what can you share about just kind of the uh, role as a paralegal internship student, as well as just working in a legal environment?
So with regards to internship, this is like a first step if you have a little bit less of experience to just get into field, to wet your feet and see where if this is actually also for you, right? You still have the time to write your exam, right? But this is the moment when you realize how you really feel about your future work, about being a paralegal, right? You will be put on all these tasks, right? The expectations from other lawyers during the internship. So you will figure it out whether you fit in, whether you actually can fulfill those expectations, right? And once you do that, you realize, like me, that oh my God, this is not as difficult as I thought it was. It's yes, it's complex with regards to financial side of it, but we are extremely supported by law society with that regard, and just a call away, right? If we encounter any issues, we also have coaches for that subject that we can connect to, like just calling law society. Um, and yes, as much as this sounds difficult when you are there, when you are like, trying to meet these expectations and whatnot. Um, as I said, this made me realize how much I know. This made me realize that I'm ready, that this is my time, right? But looking back, I already started this career, right? So I believe that it wouldn't be as easy for those who had no experience, right? To right away from school to jump to internship and just have this a few actually weeks to learn to experience really legal field, right? It's really hard to say, right, at this point, how this internship would impact my life, because it would impact completely different from those who they've never had experience, right? For me, it was just realization. Yes, I am ready to do my own business. I don't need anymore to work for lawyers, for other paralegals, for firms. I'm ready because I'm confident and this is who I am, right?
Yeah, great. And obviously before that, there was one last step, right? So you finished your internship. You said, "Look, I'm ready. I understand everything. I've been doing this. I'm ready to start my own business." But one last thing you had to do is the paralegal licensing exam. So I know I have a few students who are preparing for that exam later this month, and certainly whenever somebody listens to this, I'm sure they'll be preparing for the exam at that point. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your preparation for the exam and what was that like? Again, after all of this, you're zeroing in on your goal and you're like, well, there's one last test in the way, and any strategies you had in succeeding in passing that exam.
Okay, so yes, with regards to the licensing exam, so I was terrified. Oh my God, that was like, oh my God, I will not make it. That was the first thing that came to my mind. But then it's like, why wouldn't I? Like I know what I'm doing. I'm confident. I know who I am. I know that I want to do it. So you start from you start from believing in yourself, right? That's where you start. This is the first step to achieve this results, right? So to pass the exam. uh what did I do? I read all the time. I read the materials, each sentence 7 to 8 times, literally. Like I fell in love due to that in administrative law and all the tribunals, that this became my passion. But yes, I was reading, and it wasn't like I was reading it, just 3 days ahead of the exam. This is not how it worked. I took my time. I started as early as possible when I got my materials. I also used JP's classes. I I registered with JP's classes to see where I stand with my knowledge, how I understand the material, and how ready I am, and I made loads of notes, right? I ended up only taking this material, specific material to the exam, but I divided the material in a certain way. I focused on those sections. I highlighted those sections that I cannot literally retain, that were difficult for me to remember. And on the exam, it was just, like a breeze. I felt like I didn't even look at materials, to be honest. I finished exam actually in 3 hours, and I had full hour to just, take a look again and again and again and relax and see what this is, how, like to finish. And I was just counting the time, really. So if you read a lot, and don't be afraid, just to read it, and if this is not enough what you read, go to the website, read cases. I believe without doing it, just waiting for a luck, or oh, I will pass it, I know everything, with the attitude, I don't believe that you can get anywhere. You gotta, I believe that you have to put an effort, a lot of effort, and think about it like you would put an effort in your clients in the future. That's how much effort I want to put. I want to prepare for this case in this court 100%. So I know that the results will be better than it would be if they represented themselves.
So, are there any particular strategies? You said a lot about note taking and lots of notes and reading. But I guess, again, 3 weeks out, and a lot of people have, well, how do I understand it? Anything that you could recommend in terms of resources, strategies, highlighting, whatever you found worked the best for you? I mean, especially because you said, look, I didn't have to worry about timing on the exam. I think that's the number one thing people tell me that don't end up passing is I ran out of time, JP. I don't know if I'm going to pass. I only did 130 questions and I just guessed the last 30. So what helped you to be so quick and have that last hour left to kind of review and make sure you got the right answers?
So in my case was two things really that I think helped me a lot. The first one was that I didn't hesitate to talk about what I read, to discuss that with a family member, with other colleague, whoever it was. I didn't hesitate to talk about it. I didn't hesitate to talk about law. That's what I understood. And the more I talk out loud, more I remembered from everything that I read, because I actually talk about it. I think that's the best, solution for many. Read and talk about it. Don't be afraid to speak about it. And then another thing, what I did was I tried to reorganize the materials every time, every possible way, right? So since they are in an electronic form, so you get them on in the email, before you print it, you can reorganize them, you can use the program and find, like Adobe, and find this paralegal words and read what we can do, like try to read materials from every angle. I guess that's what I did, to comprehend, to understand, right, what you are reading, and talk about it. Why not? Also, absolutely, even though this is just 3 weeks, take the classes if you can. Take the classes with anyone who offers those, P1 preparation, just to at least discuss what you read. Maybe you didn't read it right. Maybe you always need someone else's look at it, right? Like there was actually a student, a colleague of mine, that actually asked me for help, and I did, took my time, and I was on the call with her on Zoom, and we were just talking about law. Everything she read, we were discussing every area, every subject that she couldn't understand. She ended up passing because she was talking about it, because she was actually engaged, right? So I know you are afraid or you're worried about the time. Don't think about it. Think about what you really know, right? How the time doesn't matter. As long as you know what you're doing, what you read, and you understand the law, just write, whatever you know, then go back to it when the time permits, only when you go back to it. Go with the flow, just write what you know. And then this is divided by sections, which is another advantage. So you can also divide your materials by sections. So you have a sections of responsibility, keep it separate on your exam. Don't keep your materials together. That's the worst thing you can do, because that's what I saw others doing. They kept materials together, and then, when they started writing, they started separating materials and all the sections, because the exam is divided in sections already. So why would you do this? You're giving yourself extra job. Come prepared. Divide by section. So now I'm writing about administrative law. Oh, okay. Material is here. I'm taking it. And if I don't know anything or something I don't know that I'm missing, I can just take a look because I'm in the right section. Right. So that's what I would, advise. That's my advice to the students.
Yeah, that's great. And I think the other thing is that's different for some students is the fact that it's an open book exam. And you pointed out, and I did actually, I think it was yesterday, I had some students and one had it exactly as you said in one big binder. And I said, okay, find me or answer this question about, limitation periods. And somebody else had it in 4 or 5 different smaller binders, and they got to the page in 30 seconds quicker, right? And I said, well, if you're looking at 30 seconds on one question, that's an extra minute on 2 questions, on 10 questions, you have, almost 6 minutes, and sorry, 5 minutes, and then over the whole exam that you're gonna have an extra hour. So that's where you're finished at 3 hours, and the other persons are just struggling to finish at the very end. So I mean, anything else there with it being open book that you found different than, again, 160 multiple choice questions, 4.5 hours. I mean, what was it like even just being in the room with everybody else there? Like, have you ever had an experience like that in other tests where you're in this big area and it's 10 o'clock and everyone opens the papers and you just hear scratching on the cards? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so actually, with regards to that, this is a funny story because I registered for the exam much earlier than I supposed to. So I wrote my exam in November instead of February. So the funny part was that, yes, everything was perfectly organized at school. I got my documents signed. I got my information sent to Law Society. And then I come to this exam all happy. I didn't receive an email to come, but I still went anyways. And then what I face is, you are not on the list. What are you doing here? And I was, oh my God, I'm not writing today. This is impossible. No, just go on the side here, talk to the people. To this lady, she's gonna figure it out. So thank God I had everything organized, right? So all the documents were sent, all the payments were made, everything was done ahead. Like they had everything they needed. So yes, they just let me into the exam, and I was very happy. There was no issues. And yes, we go to this big room, and I know there are accommodations for other students, which I totally recommend if someone has anxiety issues to use those. Due to the fact that they can be placed in the separate rooms, which is really good, like in the hotel or whatnot. That's what I heard. But anyways, I went to this big room, and it was scary. It was so many students, over 450, all of us, and the tables were 2 meters apart, so that was a good thing that we were not as close to each other, and the big clock on the wall, right? And what I suggest is, what I noticed that was happening was a lot of talking, right? Before the exam started, which I don't recommend. I think you should take the time to yourself and collect your thoughts, right? And calm down, think about, your exam, think about, what take a look at your notes again, put them nicely on the table, spread them around, by section, so you have easy access, right? I wouldn't engage in any conversations, even though I saw friends and whatnot. I still kept to myself, right? I think that was the like it's very important, to start with the right mind, right? With thinking about yourself, about your achievements, about this what you can achieve, and think positive that this is the place where I'm supposed to be, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it. I'm good at it, right? Um, yeah.
Perfect. So, I mean, what was it like afterwards then? So you finished the exam and then you got to wait for the results. Anything that helped you deal with that kind of anxiety of, well, what am I going to get? And maybe you can describe the feeling when you got that email from the Law Society.
Oh my God, yeah. So waiting, we were so lucky. We didn't wait too long. It was just 4 weeks because Christmas time and holidays were coming up. So I really appreciated the speed because I just couldn't handle it. Everyone was like, "Calm down, you're gonna be fine." So outside I tried to, yes, I will be fine. I know I passed. I'm confident, but inside I was just losing my mind. And there was this day I remember I was sitting at the computer and then doing some work, and then this email came, and I just couldn't open it. I was just staring at it for 10 minutes. It was like, I don't know what to do. Should I press this button and open this email or not? What should I do? And finally, after a few minutes, I calmed down because I don't know what to think, and I was terrified. And yeah, I pressed the button, it directed me to the website, right, to the LSO account, and then I see Haas, and I'm like, OMG! I started really dancing, screaming, and the funny part is, I didn't call anyone. It was just for me, right? I didn't call anyone that day. It was like, no, I don't care about anyone else. It's just me and my success. And I guess that's why I probably will never forget that day.
So I guess after that point, I mean, the next thing, obviously, there's some admin stuff, but eventually you get your license, and now you are officially a licensed paralegal from the Law Society. And earlier we were talking about, your plan was you wanted to go and be off on your own. So, I mean, was that still the case? Immediately, you kind of said now it's the time to make that move. What was it like? Because I mean, not everybody, in your shoes at that point is ready to immediately go in and run their paralegal practice. So what was the rationale? What were you thinking? What were you concerned about? And the process of getting set up as JC Paralegal Services.
So to be honest, for me it was so easy since I knew already what I want to do. So this was like I don't know, it was just like you just got the license, just do it, right? Like take a risk. I guess I believe in myself. That's the main point. You gotta believe in yourself. No matter what others say, this is your life. They don't walk your shoes. This is your life. You gotta choose who you want to be in your life. You don't depend on other people. They will always tell you, oh, you shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be doing something else. And I had those. I just didn't listen. This is the noise that is coming, right? And I just knew this is since I could do this whole thing, for so many years, and I had a glimpse of it. I already ran a little business before, so just experience of running a business it was actually crucial. Maybe in this case, even though it was different business, I still knew how to manage and how to make the money, or how to, in general, financial stuff and how to advertise and whatnot. Um, and yes, I totally understand that this wouldn't be a case for everyone. However, it's it's definitely worth a risk. If you feel like whatever you did, like I did feel, right? Whatever I did, working for others didn't made me full, right? I didn't feel satisfied 100%. I felt like I can do more. And I had to just do whatever I was given, right? I couldn't go ahead. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't, help these clients that they were rejected by paralegals. I couldn't, I couldn't do so many things. For me, it was a bigger push also, right? Like it was a push, like now you can, right? Go out, help them. And I did also lots of research, right? Like what's missing here, right? So I knew that this kind of work is missing, this kind of support is missing, this kind of help is missing, right? So that was another motivation, right? So even though maybe it sounds like I maybe didn't have a big plan, right? What at that time, right? That how this is gonna grow, where I'm gonna go from there. The moment I opened the business account, I built a plan in my head. This is where I want to be. And with this idea, I'm moving forward. Of course, I'm terrified at some days. Yes, I am scared. What if I'm not going to get enough job? What if I'm, you know, if I'm going to fail? What I'm going to do? Like, this is just the beginning. How I'm going to pay back my bills, right? What I do, I meditate and I quiet this noise. I believe in myself. And if you do, and you start with this kind of attitude, nothing will stop you. That's what I believe in. There's nothing that can stop the train. Like, if you believe in yourself, believe who you are, even though you are surrounded with people who don't believe in you, you still stick to what you want to do. That's where your success is.
So anything you can share for anyone else that's kind of in that crossroads that you found over the last few months in getting established, maybe anything you may have learned that you wish you learned 6 months ago that would have helped in building, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about your practice itself. What are the things you do, types of matters you take on, and stuff like that.
Yes. So, I've learned lots throughout those years. However, when I decided actually to open my practice and I had this nice idea of these clients, who come to me and how I'm gonna approach it because I already know, right? Because I already did it. I faced reality. It was ridiculous. Like I felt like, oh my God, I know nothing about it. How to deal with clients in certain ways, right? In certain areas with certain clients. I'm not talking about everyone. I'm talking about this people, some people that will just uh, change the way you think because the approach they take with you, the way they talk, the way they uh, approach you as a paralegal, as a person who with experience and with all this knowledge. Uh, it was shocking, right? Because even though you know, because you already experienced certain things, you didn't take it as personal because you work for someone, there was always someone overseeing your work. Now you're doing actually everything on your own, right? And now you have to deal with these challenges you are facing. You cannot say, like, oh, the lawyer will deal with this or the other person will deal with HR or manager, whatever. No, you got to deal with this. You got to be all these people now, right? And that's what was shocking to me in many ways because now you want to keep your standards, right? And you want to get paid for your work, right? But then you facing those clients who don't want to pay you, right? And they want free legal advice, but then you also thinking, okay, so how am I going to pay my bills, right? Like, I need these people. You always have this impression, I need these people. No, you don't. The truth is that the right people will come to you. Everything is depends on your attitude, on who you are, on your confidence in what you're doing. Then this way you will attract those right clients. So if you have less confidence, and that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna have very little confidence at the beginning. Yes, I had it. Then you will attract those people, these people who want free legal advice, who want charity, right? But more you gain, more confidence you gain with day after day. It's not necessarily with appearances with in court. It's not necessarily with preparing documents. The confidence that you actually know that you did it, that you actually can prepare things, right? That you actually are able to do it and nobody else is, these clients, right? Then you start to attract those really good clients who actually want to pay for your work because they look at you and they believe in you.
Now with that and building that, um, one of the other things obviously is, as you said, you're the only person. I mean, when you're starting off as a sole practitioner, you don't have the manager and the other people. So how do you get that mentorship? Because that's the other thing, or how do you connect with others and network? Because that's one of the things that I hear from a lot of sole practitioners is that that's important because people think, well, if you're on your own, then nobody's there to help you. And I don't know if there's been any resources or other people you've reached out to in assisting you in this first 6 months or so of building your practice that you found helpful.
Yes, yes. You may have this um, idea that there is nobody there for you. And it's absolutely far from the truth. Not only you have Law Society on your side, and they offer the coaching services, so you can register and you can get a coach. I did get a coach. Was only for 2 hours, but I still knowing what I know. I decided to confirm my knowledge with the person who was 20 years old in the field. Absolutely. Uh, that's the first thing I did. The second thing I did, I definitely keep in touch with my instructors. Every time I can, I connect with them. I don't miss that opportunity. I speak to them about my challenges. And even though they don't teach me anymore, absolutely they're there for me. So they have no issue to answer my questions, to support me, to even send clients if they cannot handle the work because they already know that I'm the person who can help them. And second, another thing, the third thing is definitely you need to network. So not to be afraid to go out there and look for different types of networking groups, whether this is online or in person, but uh, get out there, go to court, meet people, talk to the staff, introduce yourself. Uh, go different directions, but network. Always don't be afraid to talk to others.
Perfect. So thank you so much again, Jolanta, for taking the time and joining us here. See, we just have a couple of minutes left, but any final words of wisdom? As I said, I would come back to for anyone either thinking about being a paralegal, which you touched on before, as a paralegal student, even preparing for the licensing exam, or anyone who may be listening, and anything you want to wrap up or add to everything on all the great advice you've given us. And thanks again for joining.
Thank you, JP. So that I would say the last advice that I always would have for everyone is just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself that you can do and you are capable of doing anything you want in your life. And this field shouldn't be just work. This is what you're doing. It's not just work. It should be your passion. It should be something that should be you should think about with a smile on your face, right? Thinking if you are if you are at this point, it's a very good starting point. I think the rest will just fall into place if it's meant for you and that's what you wish for, right? It will fall into place and you will be successful.
Perfect. So once again, thanks a lot, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. Take care. All the best.
Thank you so much for having me.